Welcome, my friends and enemies. Glad you are here. We got probably the shortest one we've ever done this, but we're gonna have some fun chit chats about it. And I don't know, the world's just going sideways, and I'm not particularly fond of it. So, I am joined once again by Inquisitor Matt. How's it going,
What's
bud?
up, my What's up, my brother?
Doing good?
Yeah, doing okay. Fighting a good fight in New Jersey. You know,
The only good thing about New Jersey is when it falls into the ocean,
yeah,
California. Get out while you can. But yes, we have what I would deem to be an interesting two topics, but we'll just jump in so we make this as short as possible so you guys don't have to just hear us talk because nobody comes here to hear me talk.
let's get it on.
Who does this? Who goes to people's channels to hear people talk? Psh.
Talking on YouTube.
Yeah, I gotta make sure I did this right. Zoomy, zoomy, zoomy.
Zoom, zoom, zoom.
Yeah, well, apparently if I zoom on one tab in the same website, it zooms all the other tabs in the same website. It's really obnoxious. All right, so first topic. I made this post on Le Twitter, but for the context, I this was the Elder Scrolls Online Twitter page, and I said I have a complaint I would like you guys to look into. I was playing ESO and another player violently attacked me and killed me. This must be against your terms of service. How could you have this kind of violence in your games? It is extremely disrespectful. Shame on you. Now this is tongue in cheek for obvious reasons. Because that would be ridiculous to have something like that against your terms of service. Because, you know, killing people, which in real life is a massive crime, unjustifiably, um, you don't typically be like, yeah, let's totally be okay with that. But then down below, somebody's like, how does one attack and kill you? Were you in Cyrodiil? And I posted, I died right next to the guy being teabagged. Now, this is the double comparison, which is funny because I feel like being killed is more offensive than being teabagged. Just I know to people who are living that might be different, but to somebody who's dead, you shouldn't care because you're dead. Also, you're in a digital world, it shouldn't matter. But this is more or less referring to an incident. I'm gonna switch over, but I know it's gonna go wacky on me. Um, let's pull this back up. All right. You can shoot people, but you can't teabag them because that's violent. So this person on this post says, got a 72-hour ban in the Elder Scrolls Online for teabagging, or for bagging, which is teabagging. Honestly, this is such a pathetic rule. This honestly feels like the result of a mass report, but regardless of that, I only dish out reciprocal bags to those who did it first, or if I am just memeing around with friends. On top of that, they are supposed to ask you to stop and continue from there, or continuing from there would result in your account being actioned, which I almost said auction. Actioned. I'm pulling a beardo. Why is that? Which did not happen. Will source dev post below. If and when I receive such message, I have always complied, or always have complied. Would have laughed, of course, but wouldn't have been a problem to do. Even equating teabagging to physical harassment is wild. Really great way to water down what real world physical harassment looks like and is disingenuous. More often than not, this rule gets used to weaponize the report system against others, where the victim is actually the one instigating the behavior by doing the exact thing they were reporting you for. Why do we have a rule to empower these bad actors? And then he posts his referencing here, and it says the Elder Scrolls Online team response on the May 2nd, 2025. I did look into this. This has been happening apparently since like 2020, possibly even earlier than that, like 2018. So teabagging has been a thing for the Elder Scrolls. I still
Well,
don't know why, because it's one of the least heinous things you could possibly do in a game.
so here's the thing, right? You and I don't care personally if someone teabags our fake people, video
I
game
don't
characters,
I
or
don't
whatever.
think a digital dead corpse being teabagged is a thing of worry for anyone in a game. Like
Well, no,
dying is more.
you don't think it should be, okay?
I'm saying I
Now,
don't. That's what I'm giving you my belief.
yeah,
I don't think that's a thing that should be worthy of
yeah,
such a thing, because otherwise, if I can be offended by a person teabagging me, I can be offended by a person killing me and not letting me win.
and we're in general agreement there. I mean, and before when we had the pre-discussion, I mentioned that teabagging can be a little weird when you're playing with underage kids or whatever.
But
But the
again,
solution
the
to
game
that,
itself is a 17 plus.
that's it. So
So
the game should be 17 plus, or there should be parental controls, then whatever. But the issue here is that's not what the issue here is. The issue here is there's this culture of people who've taken over the video game industry who
they're the
view
people who
things.
got bullied, didn't know how to deal with it. That's the people that are.
No. It's not bullied. It's they've been conditioned to think that how they feel is always the most important thing. And when you feel like, and so when you play, they put like you and me play a video game for some fun, maybe a little stress relief or whatever. You know, they play it because like
I love when people use that term because it has other connotations.
you know. Well, I mean, there are games and there are games. You know what I mean?
And
Um,
some of those
but
games include Offspring.
yeah, but uh, this group of people, the woke NPCs, they play these games as extensions of their personal life because in their real life they can't get that to be that flamboyant, over the top, whatever. And but in the video game they could. So when you go and teabag them when they die, in their head you're in their room teabagging them. You know. Now
If I had
now
that
that
effect
would
on people in real life, things I
well
said would
let me just
probably
finish
kill
this.
actual
So
people.
these people have been taken control of by communists, essentially, who are using that as one of their wedge
Well,
issues.
Marxist specifically, but yeah.
Well, communist is a synonym for Marxist. Okay,
I know, but one
um,
came before the other, technically speaking.
no, it's the same thing. They both came from the same guy, Marx.
Yeah,
Uh,
it's a Marxist.
and well, Marx and Engel to be technical, but whatever.
Yeah, we don't care about Engel.
Um, so they've been trying to take over institutions for decades. They've succeeded with the media. They've succeeded with a lot of places, and now in video games and alternate media like comic books or whatever, they've succeeded in partial takeovers, and so they put all their people, these woke feelings only people, who get upset by this shit. And
Yeah, and I
the
mean
real
that ZeniMax has been doing this for years, apparently. So this is not new. It's been at least 5 years of this type of thing. But the for one, they said harassment. They spelled harsement. So okay, Elder Scrolls really good at this. It says greetings. This account is receiving a 72-hour suspension and final warning due to violating the code of conduct. But if you read the code of conduct, you're supposed to actually like reach out to the person and say, "I feel uncomfortable with this." And that did not happen, according to both posts, both the Elder Scrolls Online team response, as well as the poster. The poster said, "I didn't get any warning of this. I didn't get anybody saying please don't do this." And as the person who posted, and you could say the person's lying. Yeah, everybody could be lying, but if we just assume everybody's lying, then you can't really talk about any subjects. So unless there's more evidence that comes in and says the person is lying, I'm going to just assume what they're saying is legit because this is not the first time this has happened. But they said we cannot allow teabagging, physical harassment, it's supposed to be harassment, as it is in direct violation. And they also spaced the comma out from that's freaking weird. Direct violation of the following sections of our code of conduct. Now, you can have a code of conduct and you can have people set up to like allegedly follow that code of conduct by saying, hey, we don't want you to do X, Y, or Z, which is perfectly reasonable. However, in doing the perfectly reasonable thing, if somebody is trying to play the game, and as the poster had posted, he said, he only reciprocates the teabag or does it in private with his friends because they're memeing off of each other, which is fun and fine, whatever.
but these people don't care.
Yeah, well, that's my point. Is that, but then the person who teabags this guy, then
These guys.
right off the bat, it's like the guy just teabags him back, and then the person's like, "He teabagged me," after going and teabagging that person. It's just like it's it's like when the cheater accuses the other student of cheating, and they're clearly the ones doing it. It just why?
Well, again, it's not regular people doing this. It's these special snowflakes we talked about before doing it.
Yes, but that's the thing, is that the special snowflakes, like if I make a game and somebody comes to me saying this person teabagged me, and then I scroll the tape or roll the tape back a little bit further and see them do the same thing, I'm going to tag them both and say you both get a warning. Because the one person brought it to my attention, but they are guilty of the very thing that they are complaining about.
The people doing this don't think like that.
I know that, but I'm saying I want a balanced game, and I want a game in which the system I create to deal with this does not get abused, because then things like this happen where it gets posted on the internet on one of the biggest, if not the biggest social media site.
The people doing this, they don't want the response of going on the internet and starting a storm over it. They don't want what they want is him to go and report the other guy. So everyone starts reporting each other, therefore making it easier to regulate everyone's behavior.
I mean, that sounds like some normal Germany material.
Communism works.
Well, I mean, I wouldn't say that the funny mustache man's content would be considered communistic, but yeah.
Well, that's socialist.
Yeah, but I'm saying more like it's more fascist than communist.
No. Specifically. Stop making excuses.
That's not excuses. I'm saying that's
Krappler himself may have been a fascist, but the Yahtzees were socialist. They implemented socialism across the board. Okay,
which is always funny when they talk about. Never mind. I'm not going to go into politics.
Price controls, wage controls, purging people. That's all come from socialism.
Yeah, well, they have a lot of things in common with the Star guys. So the next particular topic, since that's basically all that, but I thought it was a little fun to be.
Don't you remember before we switch topics? Don't you remember what was that consulting company that was for woke consulting? That someone pointed out all the games they worked on. People started boycotting the games. Something Baby.
Oh, Sweet Baby Inc.
Yeah. So that's how it works. Like the Sweet Baby Inc. is a consulting company for communists, but they don't want you to know that. And
yeah, well, I mean, I would hopefully, if I had a business and let alone gaming development, I would hopefully hire intelligent people to operate my stuff, and then as soon as they got wind of even some of that kind of content, I would burn it to the ground. I'd also put in every contract, if I smell a hint of this, you're not getting paid, and you pay me, because if you're wasting my time or whatever. But I would also hope that the people I hired would actually do their due diligence and check to make sure that that kind of content isn't in the game, because the game just needs to be fun. It just needs to be there for the gamers to enjoy and just play. If it has to do with a particular storyline, that's one thing, but that storyline needs to actually make sense, and it's not revolving around all the topics that Sweet Baby Inc. wants to put in their stuff, but it is what it is. Mm-hmm. But another interesting conversation of noteworthiness, particularly I found it hilarious because it's that bad. Archcast posted about Civilization 7 releasing an expansion trailer with black Mongols.
This shit again.
Yeah. It's one thing if the game forces you to change, because Civ 7, which I have not played, I played everything up to Civ 7 since 4, I think. You jump eras or ages or whatever they would call them, and you change your civilization. But your leader, for whatever reason, stays the same. I don't understand it. It doesn't make sense why they did it the way they did it, but whatever. It's their game. They can do what they want with it. But the game itself is more or less a historical... I don't know what the historical reenactment or whatever. Like, if you go to the Incas look like Incans. They behave like Incans. Like, you know, their civilization represents Incan civilization. So you're expecting them to be Incans. You're not expecting them to be anything other than Incans. Same
Mhm.
thing would go for Greeks. Same thing would go for Chinese. Same thing would go for any African tribe, whatever the case might be. I don't think they roll over. But hypothetically speaking, let's say this is supposed to be the Harriet Tubman leader you can have, and you go into the next civilization era and you become the Mongols, or you start as the Mongols. This wouldn't be that much of a far-fetched concept in that regard, because as the leader of the Mongols, you would be the Mongol leader, but you're still the character, which would be Harriet Tubman
Mhm.
in this particular situation. I don't know if that's what they're going with, because for one, I don't know why Harriet Tubman's a leader, because she's not an actual like leader of a nation. She was just a very influential
Okay.
person. So there's some they have a bunch of
So
characters that aren't actually leaders. I think they just ran out of ideas and they sort of like just pull all these people or whatever. I don't know, but this
now
could have a
what they could
reasonable
be.
explanation. I'm just not particularly convinced of that right
The
now.
only reasonable explanation I can see for this particular image would be if the trailer is like showing that dude playing the game and then showing him in the game. You know what I mean? Like if like he's in the computer playing the game, and then they show like his imagination, he's imagining himself being Genghis Khan or whatever. You know?
Yeah, but at the same time, you're playing a leader, you're playing an avatar, you're not playing yourself. Like if I go in and I pick, I don't freaking know who I'm going to pick a random leader. Joan of Arc. Let's say I pick Joan of Arc or something. I don't think Joan of Arc's actually in Civ 7, but let's say I just pick Joan of Arc, which technically speaking isn't a leader either. It's just a military bigwig, sensationalist, populist type of individual, but never actually ran France. But let's say Joan of Arc's in there, and I pick Joan of Arc. The other players have no idea I'm just some white dude, specifically Mediterranean, but
No, no,
that's
no.
another
I
story.
get what you're saying, but I'm saying the trailer might be a bunch of different players. Like in this guy, so let's say there's
Oh,
a white dude who played the Incans, and they show him going into the Incans like as an imagination, you know. And the next guy's a black guy, he's playing the Mongolians, and so forth. Like, no, the trailer might not be showing like authentic black Mongolians or whatever, which don't exist.
speaking of trailers, let's just watch it since it's 40
Yeah.
seconds long, and this will be really short and sweet, probably. So let me know if you can't hear this.
After 136 years, victory is ours, as it is the wish of our leader, Melvin 392.
Okay, pause it. Pause it. So she's the real life player. In other words, the way that I could tell right away. So they're doing this thing where she's the real life player, imagining herself leading the Mongols.
Maybe, but it's kind of weird to talk about yourself in third person, because Melvin 398 or whatever is the character, or is the player playing her, and she does not strike me as a Melvin for one. I'll roll it back.
Well,
Just
she might be a Melvina.
she didn't say Melvina, she said Melvin.
As it is the wish of our leader, Melvin 392, we shall call this land Puddington!
But why Puddington, my lady?
Melvin 392.
Okay, wait a minute. So
Not only is this absolutely cringe,
now we have
all
a
get out, but
blonde Viking Mongolian.
yeah. And that's the thing, is that the problem is civilizations moved away from the historical concepts, but it's when you think civilization, you think historical concepts. But if you have the era jumping, you're picking an entire different civilization. You're not adding the civilization. You're picking an entirely different one with different benefits, different statistics, all that kind of stuff. So you shouldn't technically have, like, if you go to the Mongols, you shouldn't have any like Vikings or anything prior to that or post that. Like you should only have what the civ you have is. So this doesn't make sense to begin with in any shape or form. So I mean, aside from it being absolutely cringe, but let's continue it on and see what they come up with.
Craves sugary spoils. One more turn! One more turn!
It's super cringe. Oh my gosh.
One more turn. Now build something you believe in.
And then they pick what's her face from Game of Thrones and Star Wars fame, or infamy.
Who is that?
That's the lady from
One more turn. Now build something you believe.
that's the really giant lady from Game
Oh,
of Thrones.
Gwendolyn Christie.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't know why they put her in such a small chair. That nothing makes sense. But like, we're talking about Melvin, but it's a My Lady, but they don't tell us who the character is supposed to be in the thing. So obviously cringe, but why do you have Asian, seemingly Norwegian or Swedish Viking type characters who speak British accent, whatever, or American accent, and then being led by a black, like those are like three civs that would not be meeting each other at that time period. So it's not historical. Maybe they're playing it off of the normal, or not normal, the abnormal concept of like how Assassin's Creed's basically gone away from historicity and gone towards
Well, I thought
convenient myth.
initially, like I was saying, that they were having that the player was imagining himself in the armor or whatever. But that's not the case because you had two people. You had the Viking guy too. So I mean, and both of them referred to Melvin, like you said.
That's what I'm saying. I don't well, Melvin is a dude's name. So unless this is a trans person or whatever,
Well, it's someone else's name, but it's the important thing.
the way this lady is behaving, she's speaking in the third person. She's talking about somebody else, so it's probably not her.
Mm-hmm.
But the way that she's behaving, like calling this Puddington because he likes sweet stuff, does not sound like a dude thing. That sounds more like a woman thing. Unless they're just like a beta male or something. I don't know.
No, I agree. I mean,
it's a very odd thing. It doesn't make sense. I don't know why it is this way. But I'm trying to be charitable to them. I don't know why I'm trying, because they don't deserve it, because Firaxis makes terrible games now.
I would say just don't do it. Don't be charitable at all.
But, well, that's the thing. It's like, I want to be a charitable person because I don't want to be a dick to everybody who comes by. Because there might be somebody who is just misunderstood. And then, whatever. And I don't want to be the person who supports something like David Vavro, which we're not going to get into that crap. And then find out they were actually BSing me the entire time. And then being like, well, I'm glad I didn't support that guy. I supported him vocally, but I never supported him financially. And I'm glad I didn't support him financially, because at the time I couldn't afford it. But now I'm just kind of like, what you going to do? But yeah, I don't want to be that person who is the royal jerk who's just a dick to everybody, because just same thing as like those, like when you go see those popular people, whether it be celebrities or whatever, and they're all like really nice and because there's cameras looking at them, but as soon as the camera goes away, they're a dick to everybody, and they're like, everyone's trying to take advantage of me, blah 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 blah, or some stupid crap like that. I don't want to be that guy. Not that I'm gonna be ever famous or anything, but I don't want to be that guy in terms of, I want to give people the benefit of the doubt. Like I said, maybe that guy earlier was talking about the teabagging. Maybe he's lying. I have no reason to believe he's lying, because this is something that Elder Scrolls Online has had as a problem before now. So it's not like it's new.
Yep.
So they have a history which leans in evidence in favor of him. But there's also a code of conduct, which is supposed to be like how this works. If somebody teabags you and you feel uncomfortable with it, you message them saying, hey, I felt uncomfortable with that. And then they stop. And if they don't stop, then you report them. That's how the process of code of conduct is supposed to work. But that's not what happened. Instead, they went, boom, first time offender, final warning. Final warning? That's not how
you're only allowed to teabag black Mongolians.
Black female Mongolians.
Yeah.
If anything, that'll get you an instant permaban. You don't even get the final warning. But maybe he's lying. It doesn't seem like it. But if something comes out and says, "Oh, I had the receipts," he's lying, then I want to be charitable and say, "Okay, I'll take a gander at it." So I want to have a reputation of being charitable, despite me being a bit more passionate about things in the past and not being charitable. I want to start somewhere. So, yeah. that was it for what I had planned. So this will be a record-breaking shortest video, maybe
Probably,
at,
possibly.
at least for the council.
Yeah.
But we'll jump into the outro. But if you guys liked this video or were entertained or thought I was being stupid or whatever the case might be, please feel no obligation, but hit the like, comment, subscribe, all that fun jazz, bell notification, all that good stuff. If you wouldn't mind sharing this with somebody that you know that might enjoy this kind of content, that'd be great. I've been doing some playthrough type stuff for game streams and everything like that from time to time because they're just fun, chill, relax things where we can talk about things that we actually enjoy as opposed to all of the not so much enjoyment. But that stuff there. Leave a comment, negative or positive. You can leave a like or a dislike. It doesn't matter. The algorithm only cares about the volume. So if you could do a solid, that'd be fantastic. But yeah, we'll hopefully have some more coming out down the pipeline aside from streams, but we'll see how that works. So, you got anything going on, Matt?
Well, okay. So this video is posted on the weekend. Basically, every Wednesday I do a wrestling show called Wednesdays Overbooked, 9 p.m. Eastern Standard Time on the Joker Voice channel. Every Thursday I'm on Roman's show, which is either like a movie or TV show review or talking about some topics, basically. So there you go.
Cool beans. Sage should be back, I think, next week because we should be back to a normal schedule. But
He has to save up that European time, that the time a lot of other you
he
use.
has to also be awake when we stream.
Yeah.
That's a different story. So, thanks everybody for hanging out with us, and remember, my friends, walk in the light.